Good morning. This is Costa. The date is the 8th of August 2025. How could I forget that? That's Mrs. Costa's birthday. Right, okay, so this is Omni DAX. I just want to talk about Omni DAX relative to the chart and perhaps how, how I use it, but I want to explain what some of these probabilities that I post on X are, and how I can engage with price for obviously for trading purposes, right? So let me get the chart. So here is the DAX, or the German 40. I'll try and clean that up a little bit. Get rid of that. Let's switch marker off. Right, okay, so the day is split into 4 sessions. I'm interested in 3. Mainly 2, actually. I like to trade the London. I don't trade Asia. We don't get a particularly good spread at that point in time. Plus, I'm sleeping. So my day starts and I look to analyze what the scenario is and pump that or feed that into Omni, and we can get a feel for what is what. Right, okay. Let me get an arrow. Be easier, I think, to explain. All right, okay, so these colored boxes with the name of the session underneath refer to obviously the session, but specifically the opening range of that session, right? The opening range is a constant, and in the case of Asia, it lasts 90 minutes. For the 3 other sessions, London, New York 1, New York 2, it lasts 60 minutes. And it's what we use to measure, or not measure, to ascertain direction and where the midpoint is, which may at some future time be broken. So let's break that down. So if that line there, let's make that a line, is the opening range low, and we can see that price cross that probably there, right there, to give us a short confirmation. So that's variable 1, right? Actually, I'm probably better off doing it this way. 1 second. This is how I mark it up, and I put it into X. Right, okay, so Asia went short, right? We can move that arrow out of the way. And at this point in time, right there is 230, and I like to, what do I know at that point, right? So as we can see, we went short. It was late in the session, and we didn't break the other side to go false, right? So right there, we know that, let's actually write that down, 2:30 a.m. East, 7:30 a.m. GMT. All right, so we've got Asia is short true. Number 1. Okay. Just some other observations on that. Obviously, we were in yesterday's candle as Asia's forming previous high. Probably lowers down there somewhere. That's right. Okay, the close is here. Price is coming down, broken out of where the close was, comes back up and retests that there. Sorry, you might get a bit quiet every now and again. I'm turning my head currently in a position. Right, okay. So that's what we know when Asia is forming. Let's have a look at DAX, at the Omni. So we can plug in, sure, and true. So we have 516 scenarios that Asia, the overnight, went short true, right? There is nothing else to feed in at this point in time because this is where these stats, probabilities, etc. are kicking in from. All right, okay, so I mentioned that these are opening ranges, right? So there's Asia opening range, there's London opening range. Here, there's the opening range statistic, green and red. What does that mean? Well, it means if this was a candle, if that opening range was a candle, it means whether it's a red candle or a green candle, right? Which obviously means if the open is higher than the close, it's red, I agree. If the close is lower than the open, it's red. So we have that stat there, right? But again, this is 2:30. There's nothing to much more to do here, right? But we can look at what has not happened. So let's get another line. There is our Asian mid. So after 2:30, which is right there, and up until, well, whatever really, but I'm looking at it in 30-minute blocks of time, right? Okay, so I can now say, well, it's not broken, right? So let's say by 3 a.m. we're not broken. How is that shifting? I'm just going to take that back out actually because there is something to explain. So if this is not broken, this is broken. So these are referring to something not happening. This is referring to something happening. We're talking about the same thing, which is the Asia mid point being broken. Why do I measure that? Because it has an impact. It does have an impact and it does shift probabilities, right? And as we can see, what's really useful is it usually happens within the first hour. So between 2:30 and 3:30, that midpoint is likely to be hit, right? I mean, we can see 37 or 38 and 25. I make that 63%, right? So 2 in every 3 days. If it's going to hit, it's going to hit in the first hour. And as we can see in this scenario, it gets hit 3 in every 4 times. So a useful statistic, probability, whatever. But it didn't happen in this case, right? So we're at, say, 3 o'clock there. It did not happen. So I can select, I can select that there, or I can change that to 3. How has things shifted? So red box, so we're there now, right? It's the open. We're right at the close of this candle, the open of this candle. We are red. What's our data telling us over here? Well, the model, the session, the opening range color and direction of the statistics that we can see here. Model is, it refers to the opening range box position relative to the previous session, right? Not so important for us right now. For the opening range color, it's saying 53%. For our direction, it's 50-50, right? And this obviously, it only kicks in after we have a confirmation. Right. So there is 3:30 or 3:25. It closes 3:30 there. So 3:30, we have still not hit that mid. How is that shifting? So obviously it's ruling out times 3:30 till 4 4 to 430 is what we can find in here. Clearly, the distance required to do that is making that at this time unlikely. Not that I'm not saying that we rule that out, it just is what it is. There's the stats right there, right? So let's look at what we have right here. These are E's, EZ, they're just extreme expansion zones referring to the session. So basically the high and the low of the whole session, right? So E's is up here, E's is down there. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting trade-wise. So, all right, 3 a.m. we have a 93.98% chance of that being struck right there, okay? So let's get that straight. So we are there, okay? I mean, I've been doing all this in real time as each candle is printing, I'm updating and I'm looking, and that's the information that I post. So let's mark that. We'll call it 93.5%. Oops. Okay. The high, which is obviously at the top, is showing a 41%. So actually, can I do anything? No, I can't. Well, we'll just clone that. Just put that there, and that's 41%. Okay, right, and the mid is now sitting at 52%. Obviously, for the purpose of the scenario as was playing out in real time, right? So now I have a system that I can trade around here, which I've back tested rigorously. I have literally thousands of trades back tested on this, and there are 2 setups, and we can see, like for me, that's a short day, right? That was a trade that I took this morning, and this would have been an initial target. Points wise, what's that? I mean, it's not brilliant. 30 points, it's handy, but that was where like the target was, right? Sort of in this sort of area down here. You're looking for a sweep of that low, sort of something like that. I'll just tidy that up. There you go. Yeah, so I'm not, like, when I'm looking for this, I don't necessarily want that swept, right? In terms of how I'm aiming for it, you know, so with regards to the zone, I'm probably making that, you know, probably something like that. And there we, you know, our target is hit sort of twice in that area right there, right? But we only needed to do it once. Let's make that something like that, right? So yeah, 5 or 6, maybe 10 points, whatever, away from that. My long is looking all right, yeah? I'm long from around about there. It's a mocha setup. We'll trade it back into the range and we'll see. Obviously now, like, I'm 41%, 52, not particularly, you know, I'll deal with this accordingly. In fact, I probably should go break even. 1 second, it's on my other computer. Okay. So this is probably quite long-winded, and I'm going to need to make this a bit quicker, but I'm trying to explain the interface, right? And if I really rattle through this quite quickly, then I think a lot of the will be lost. Right, okay, so where were we? So we had this red box, right? 330, look at how this shifted, right? And now you can see what the short is, 57, but because we got a red box, I can and will select that there. Doing that. So how has that affected? So we're now 70%, right? So right there, so like what's going through my mind? So I am short from there. That was my setup, something like that. Okay. All right, so I'm not hit my target yet. Let's just move that over there like that. Target is not hit yet, right? Because we're there. But because we're the OR is a red candle, this is red. We close lower than we opened. I now have this 70% short, right? And I'm there. So like I cover my break even, and you just let that do that thing, right? And for it to go short, like I explained up here, it's got to break the opening range. So can it break the opening range? Well, yes it can. Oops. Which it does there, right? Make that a bit thinner. Which we can do, and is actually the candle that goes to target. And that was my trade this morning. I am currently in a long. That is, but I'm not looking for that up here. I'm just looking to come back into this range. I'm at break even. What do I have? So we are like 40 odd points, right? At the moment, which is pretty decent. Okay, so what other observations? Well, I got a price model down here. I got higher day. I got lower day time. We have the session information here. I got some stuff. Oh, not that. That's on the other screen. Mocha and whatnot. But right now, there's really nothing more to say. Other than like this came true, which is something that happened there, right? Okay, so we came down, we came back. Actually, it's not. No, it didn't close above. So actually, this has not happened yet. So this is kind of a little bit of an anomaly, even though for this to be captured, price has got to come down into it that way, right? That, and we can see that it's not happened because we never had, or did we? Ooh, that's tight, right? That's close. I would say that's not. It didn't close inside the range to come back out of the range. Right, okay. Anything else? So I would say no. Other than, actually, yes, there is. Short. Let's look at the price model. So now what I like to do is take a screenshot. Let me just get the chart ready first. Runs to 7:30. Not bad, no? And that's the price model. So where are we in time? 5:20. So it's suggesting a high of the session after confirmation around about 6:50. Where are we? My position. I'm not. I mean, this would have been one of the things that kind of give me the idea to enter the trade, right? With a tight-ish stop, but I'm just looking to see where I get. Anyway, feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. This is my first attempt, so forgive me. I will get better at these. I'm going to try and do every day re-engineering of YMNQ and the DAX and maybe the FTSE. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.